Welcome back into the Ohio MMA podcast. I am your host, David McKinney. Joining me on today's episode, Mr. Josiah Harrell. What's up, man?
What's up? Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it would take a little bit longer to have you on the show because you made a super quick turnaround and you're returning to the cage. I think sooner than a lot of people maybe thought. We'll get into all that, but what's it like, man? You got a fight coming up here in about a month. Returning to LFA, but what's it like to have a fight and be in a fight camp and I guess maybe get some quote unquote normalcy back to your life?
Uh, Makes me excited, grateful. If it was up to me, as soon as surgery was done, we would have gotten a fight. But not everything can go your way. So I'm blessed to be here. I'm happy to be here and happy to continue down the path that God's put out for me.
Yeah, and so for people who don't know, you actually last year in 2023, you went 7-0. You made your LFA debut, a dominant win, got signed to the UFC. Your pre-fight medicals, came up that you actually have the disease moyamoya, which is I know a very serious and life-threatening disease, and huge props to the UFC that was able to be found leading up to your fight. But you took a little bit of a step back, got the surgery, and man, like I said, I think you had the surgery. Was it earlier this year or late last year? Um,
January 18th or
okay,
23rd.
so I don't want to harp on it too much because there's a ton of information out there on the internet. I'm more excited about talking about the future, but quick rundown, man. How did the surgery go, and what's the recovery been like?
Recovery's been good. I grew up with a lot of IEP classes and special need classes, and now it's starting to make sense. So I used to I still do sometimes, not as much, but I would call myself special needs just because I was surrounded by a lot of people like that, and now getting back and actually having a little bit more cognitive function, like being able to, I don't know, read, pronunciate, put things where they're supposed to go, and think correctly. It's been a lot easier to move along in this past year than it is ever in my life. So I'm grateful for that. Waking up was the biggest thing I remember from surgery. Just painful. Just joints were because they have you sedated and they have you locked down. They have this like little angel thing over your head so you don't move. So I couldn't move for 10 hours, 9 hours. So the whole time they were just Dr. Steinberg was doing his thing and his team was doing their thing. But when I woke up, yeah, you get I had a headache, but I mean that makes sense. I just got cut open, but every joint just not from not being able to move hurt so bad, and I remember that so vividly.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. I actually didn't know that. I feel like you haven't really maybe talked as much about that, but the kind of the added benefits of the just general life improvement of the things where maybe like you said you kind of had some issues for your entire life and never really figured it out, and now you're like, man, it's like a whole new lease on life outside of fighting as well.
Yeah, impulsivity. I mean, it's still not bad. I got ADHD as well, but with my brain disease, impulsivity is just through the roof. It was a lot harder to control. Just blurt outs or eating habits or anything that like I thought of. Like I was just pretty much just running on impulse, which made everything just so much harder when it came to drinking or if I got into any drugs or whatever was happening. It just made life so much harder. Spending just um, but now it's getting to a point where at least it's controllable.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and I feel like that's going to make your life, just again outside of fighting. I know fighting is very important to you, but let's talk about the fighting part. I follow you on Instagram, and it looks like from what I can tell, you never really took that much of a break from training.
No.
You had the surgery in January, and I saw you in the gym as doing as much as you can, early in the spring. Um, that's just like the fighter mindset, right? Of like, I feel like you came into it. I know you have a wrestling background, but it's addictive, man, being in the gym, right?
Yeah, no, it was dumb of me. If I wasn't uh, as blessed as I was, or if fate had me going out any other way, then I should have got hurt. Um, I'm literally in the gym 3 weeks later. I'm hitting pads and doing that, and it's just not good for your health at all. So it's just for me looking back. it probably shouldn't have happened. And yes, I can say that you shouldn't do it, but then I was the one who did it, so I can't even argue with anybody who wants to try to push that outside the box. But it's like I end up having two seizures, um, and one was golfing. So one I stopped training, and one was just golfing, and the other one was just me up in my room reading, and I was reading, and then just slowly came on, and I ended up breakdancing for a little bit, and then when I came to, I was it was just weird because that was my first one. But no, I'm super blessed. I did train, and we had people always at the gym going, "Hey Joey, you shouldn't be training." Like they would. So if I'm waiting for everyone to leave, coach would have people stay just to go like, "Hey Joey, you can't train. Hey Joey, you can't do it." So it was one of those things where it's just I put my life into something, and you put a lot of work into something, and it's hard to detach from what we need to do now from what we want to do in the future. And it's just like if I all I had to do is just settle down, heal, and do that, and then go on this path. But no, I'm impulsive. I didn't make the best decisions, and luckily I made it out without injuring my brain, without because that's the real thing. Because it's like if things went sideways just a little bit, if probability would have flipped on the negative side at any moment, we're now having brain damage. We're now having um, seizures, however you want to do it with the brains. But it's like we're getting injured and now taking away our future instead of being able to work towards it. So yes, I got to get better, and yes, I am getting better, and yes, it was a risk that luckily was not hurting me, and I got to strive and get better. But at any moment, I could have just completely took my future away. So me being where I'm at now, I'm like, you're just stubborn. Just settle down, enjoy to relax, like enjoy the time you did have, relax, be patient, and it's just I'm thankful that I didn't get hurt, but I probably should have.
Yeah, and I know you also reached out to, or maybe he reached out to you, Vince Murdock, who
Yeah.
had was high profile as well, and I actually know Vince a little bit. He trains out with Cody Garbrandt out at Team Alpha Male, and I actually ran into him prior to the whole thing. I think he was either going to the UFC or was on the Ultimate Fighter, and had the same thing. And he's actually come back and had multiple fights. I think he actually has another fight scheduled. So, what was that like having kind of a guy who is maybe like a handful of
Mm-hmm.
steps away from the connection and obviously UFC, but who has the same thing and who has come back and been able to fight and did he give you any kind of tips or anything like that or
Yeah. So it was for me. I'm slowly starting to learn more about myself now, and I didn't realize how much I had anxiety until like this past coming year, and then the I would say probably about 2023, and just the weight that came off my shoulders, being able to talk to someone who's not only been through it, but can give you the steps they took until they're coming back, and just the information he had has lightened a lot of weight off of my shoulders, and then knowing that he came back from this and was able to fight, and knowing that like my future's not over, like that's like just it could have went down a rabbit hole of darkness, and I'm glad that I had someone like that to talk to. Like Vince, just he's the man. I appreciate him. I need to go up there because there's like Lance and all those guys up there at Alpha Male are just so good. But no, Vince is just he helped my anxiety more than anything.
and what's it like because you talked a little bit about the gym and I know you train at a couple different gyms but Grove City BJJ and Immortal, but what's the gym life been like and being able to see them you've got both gyms where you've had guys who have been super successful, but has it been kind of fun being able to be a little bit on the sidelines and being able to cheer for your teammates, but then also now being able to get back in and like you got fight camp coming up?
Mhm. I enjoy helping others. I get more out of that than I do myself. Like my mindset when I was training was, if I die, then I don't have anything to worry about. But if I don't die, then I'm getting better at what I love to do anyways. So that was like it was. I don't know if it's toxic. I don't know if it's a bad mindset, but like I don't care too much about myself, and I don't know if I ever have or if I just was never taught to. But I get my happiness from helping other people. So being on the sidelines hasn't really changed much for me. I get to give my teammates more of myself. I get to try to get them better, and in the long run, it gets me better. So it's like there's a cycle to it. But no, I love helping people. So that's just it's helped me. It's helped me come in. I got to be in a lot of corners. I got to drive out and help our fighters as much as possible. But at the end of the day, I enjoy helping people. I enjoy helping the people I love. So it's it's always been beneficial to be in the sidelines for me.
Yeah. And so what have you been in contact with the UFC? I know that you are going back to fighting in LFA, which is, your last fight before
Mhm.
getting signed to the UFC. Have they told you kind of, hey, go back, get one more fight, kind of shake the year and a half rust off, and
Yeah,
we'll get you back in there, or what do you have a game plan?
yeah. So most likely they're gonna either be here next week or in a couple days. So they still been checking my blood and pee all that, make sure I'm not doing drugs. But I mean, our relationship is good. It's like my manager talks to them more than I do, but it sounds like they just want me to get my make sure that I get a fight in before I go back into the big show, so I don't have any of those mistakes. Um, but yeah, they're still got me on for short notice. Still got me on for if something slides in the contender. But it sounds like I get this fight, go viral, and we're back to where we started.
Yeah, I actually, was looking back through some of your fights, and I actually called. I think it was your first 4 or 5 fights, or maybe all your fights for OCL. And the one thing I loved about you is you're a short, stocky guy, and so people think like wrestler, but you go out there and fight with a sort of a kind of a controlled, reckless abandon, is the way that I
Mhm.
like to say it.
Yeah,
You're a super aggressive fighter, and you don't care whether you get the knockout or you get the submission. That's kind of what I feel like has, like, and you have a huge fan base, especially locally and the
yeah,
Columbus area, but and people have just kind of gravitated toward you, and obviously a lot of that is your personality, but then your fighting style. Is that kind of what you feel like is kind of your like signature of being that type of fighter?
um, as I started, I was a little bit more reckless, and that was because in my mind that was the easiest way to get someone tired. As I got better and more technical, I can get people tired without being reckless, but I still have that in me, being able to be reckless. But I like to keep that in my back foot, my back pocket, and I think my style is more adaptive than anything. But it's like when it comes down to it, I'm just seeing who's gonna break first. That's it. It's just join me in my mind. Here we go. I move all over the place. I'm here. I'm fainting. I'll go up high. I'll stand up for a little bit. If I see an opening, I'll take it. So just be careful. And I don't mind getting hit. I don't mind um, having to leave on a stretcher. So it's just whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. I enjoy all aspects of it. The danger, the pain, the anxiety, just all of what comes with fighting. I love, and I think that's what people love about me is I'm authentic when it comes to it. I'm not trying to hear. I'm not trying to play some part. I'm not trying to play something. If you want to ask me a question, I'll give you my honest answer. I'm not going to try to be a McGregor wannabe. I'm not going to try to be O'Malley. I'm going to try to be me, and I think that's um, why I get the respect I do.
Yeah, I always love calling your fights and hearing the crowd, the pop of the crowd when you get a takedown, and it's like that doesn't happen for every every
Yeah,
fighter, right? A lot of people are like, I want the stand up knockout, and people are like, I know Joey's going to be exciting when he gets on the ground, and that was always one of my favorite parts of calling your fights. So you're fighting Uelliton Silva at LFA 194. It looks like he has kind of around the same number of fights as you. He's 6-2 from Brazil. Looks like this is his first fight in the U.S. Do you have any insights on the opponent? I know you don't want to give away too much, but what are you thinking about the matchup?
I think he's a game opponent. And I know he doesn't quit, so that's enjoyable. I think he took a little time off, so this is his chance to go against somebody who's good that also took time off. So I expect the best version of him. I know that he does well standing up. I don't know for sure how good his wrestling is, but if he took time off, he could have just been working on that, working on putting his tools and making everything sharper. So we expect the best version of him, and at the end of the day, it's just going to be who breaks first. So it's going to be enjoyable. I don't mind losing. I don't mind winning. I really don't even care about that. I enjoy the fact that I get to push myself and challenge myself, and this is someone who's willing to go there and go the distance. So that makes me happy. I'm going for the finish. That without a doubt. But that's all my fights. I won't say it's a loss for me if people survive, but I'm gonna be down. I'm gonna be upset with myself if people make it to the end. So I'm always going for the finish, and it's going to be um, a patient finish. I'll look for it. If he shows it early, then we'll get it done early. If he stays tight and disciplined through the whole fight, then we'll get it done late.
Yeah, and one thing that I always thought was interesting in your record is you're unbeaten, going all the way back to your amateur debut, which was actually a draw against a super tough guy, Gerald Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you have any, like, amateur and pro, you've never lost? Do you feel like that adds any added extra pressure to you, especially now to the point where you're like on, again on the cusp of like getting back to the UFC or getting to the UFC initially?
Um, if I cared about it, yeah. But like I said before, I really don't care too much about myself. It makes me excited because I get to show people what my coaches have made. It makes me excited because I get to show my teammates, my people, what they're capable of. It makes me excited because if I can do it, why can't they? Type of deal. So it's like, yes, it's cool to be undefeated. It's cool to never be beaten, but it's like the only thing we're really keeping record of is MMA. I've lost in wrestling. I've lost in jiu-jitsu. So it's like it's not that I'm unbeatable. I know I'm beatable, and this is not even counting the record of life. Like life is started off 0-1. My dad left me. I don't even know that man. So it's like I started off losing right off the bat. And if we're keeping records of life in general, it's like I probably got a negative record if we're being honest. So I think just the way I take it in is I'm going there to get better and not just get better in fighting, but in life and understanding and growth. Like my at the end of the day, my goal is to be the person my future family needs me to be. So if I can learn anything through these fights, or if I can learn anything to help my son or my daughters or my wife, however that's going, then that's a win for me. I don't really care too much about the records or what could have been or has been or who's undefeated or who's not. It's like at the end of the day, we're just here to push ourselves, learn, and see who wants it more.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great outlook. And I've been talking recently. I like to have a wide range of people on the podcast. But recently, I feel like I've been talking to a lot of experienced pros. I had Miles Robinson on, you, and then I've got Josh Pereira coming up. So I like to ask guys like that, who have a lot of experience. Who's someone in the gym, whether it's at Grove City or at Immortal, that you see maybe they haven't fought or have a couple of fights? Who do you think is going to be dangerous on the scene in the next maybe couple of years?
Dangerous. I mean, there's Cam. He's from. I gotta remember his last name. Is it Cam? He's an Ammy, but he's good. There's oh yeah, I gotta figure his last name. He's about I think he's a 55. Great wrestling. A little newer when it comes to just MMA in general. There's See, we got a couple guys at our gym. Jeremiah is like he's good. Jaden's good. It's just those guys just all they do is tweak some things, make sure they go and keep their game plan, and it's like there's not a lot of people beating them. So we got a lot of guys in the room. Miles is fucking a dog. It's like Josh is a dog. So it's like those guys are we're just looking to push each other, and as we get more and more people into our little circle, then it just get to a point where it's like I know we have a lot of people when it comes to like Christian. He hasn't fought yet. He hasn't fought once, but he's good. He's 19, I want to say, and nope, 21. My bad. He's 21. He pushes himself. He moves well. He hasn't skipped a day of practice in 2 years. So it's just like those are the things that you'll see, and it's not so much for potential. It's just consistency. So if people are consistent, I'm like that person can be something, and they're all over the place. It's not just one or two guys. It's we got plenty of people that are able and can be that person. All they have to do is one believe and two just be consistent.
Yeah, was it Cam Jenkins that you were talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I saw a couple of his fights. He fought over in Pennsylvania his first couple fights, and yeah, he's dangerous. And then Jeremiah Slagle, I know he just came up with a big win over in West Virginia. So yeah, I mean, so many fighters. And the one thing that I always thought was interesting about Grove City BJJ, was you guys don't have a ton of fighters, but man, the level of fighters that you guys have coming out of the gym, it's like, man, everyone's a killer. Even going back to the days of like Jake Miller, Michael Arrieta, who I know neither one of them have fought in a while, but man, you're like, those guys are all beasts. And then yourself, obviously, Jaden Maddox. It's like every single fighter coming out of the gym is just a beast. And again, not the high numbers of fighters, but man, when you see Grove City BJJ or Immortal next to a fighter's name, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
And that's been huge. Tell me a little bit about training with Matt Brown, because I talked with Miles about it, and it's fascinating. One of the best fighters probably ever, and he's at your weight class, and he's local to you.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like that's got to be a huge benefit, and a guy like Matt who has kind of that like background of like he's like I'm just a fighter, right? Like he
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have like a background in high level wrestling or jujitsu or anything, but
Mhm.
he's been super successful. And now that he's retired, and Miles kind of mentioned this, he's like he's kind of turned a little bit more into like the coach versus just training partner.
Yeah. So when before he turned over and retired, there was like I think pretty much everyone I've went or fought against has quit at some point. Like that's the reason why I get the finishes. It's not because I'm so much better than them; they just end up quitting. And then going in sparring Matt, he's not going to quit. So it allowed me to get another side of this where I'm like, there's going to be plenty of people out there that aren't going to quit. So I got to start thinking more tactically and stop being so reckless. And that's actually the person that I'm like, I can't just be reckless against because he actually likes that. He gathers momentum so well, and once he gets going, it's harder to stop him or slow him down. So it's like I had to think a lot more on my feet, and not every fight can go to the ground if I'm just being reckless. So I had to figure and time the right moments to take it to the ground against him. So the first thing was just he allowed me to see the opposite end of everyone else as okay, he won't break. So this person I can't just expect everyone to break in front of me. And especially as I go to fight the best in the world, they're not going to break. They're going to have the same mindset I do. So now I got to be tactical on top of being conditioned, on top of being just the athlete that I am, and being smart and keeping my IQ where it needs to be when it comes to fighting. It's just like me being conditioned is not going to be good enough. So he allowed me to see that. And then as we transitioned over to, I couldn't speak for a second, as we transitioned over to um, the coaching aspect, just pushing me, making me more technical, making sure that I'm getting my hands up, chin down, making sure that when I'm putting these combinations together that my hands are where they need to be, or I'm slipping, or I'm moving the way I need to be, or I'm moving out, making sure I'm turning my hips over, make sure I'm, excuse me, make sure I'm turning my the ball on my foot over for my crosses. He's sharpening everything up, and now instead of being that person which was like a mirror, he's now becoming the whetstone, and he's just sharpening the blades and making me the weapon that I can be. So he's bringing out just my full potential, along with the coaches over at Grove City. It's just I'm very blessed to be where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, you see the again the level of talent coming out of Central Ohio now, and it's scary, man. And
Yeah.
I always say, in the last I've been covering this since 2008, 2009 locally, and it used to be there were a lot of fighters, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fighters, and hundred and plus events in Ohio per year. And now it's like everyone who's a fighter now coming into the sport is dangerous, and there's no like even amateur debut amateurs are like scary. So and that's I think a product of the depth that we have in Ohio. So I did want to say, man, I'm excited to see you back in the cage. Even more so than that, excited to see that you still got a smile on your face, and that you're still the same guy, and have a great outlook on life. And as a fan, like I said, I'm excited to see you back in the cage, and making your way to the UFC. So um, LFA 194. I think the date's October 18th. UFC Fight Pass going up in New York, so not too far. So if you're local and want to make the drive up, do that. But yeah, man, thank you so much. Any sponsors, anybody you want to thank, mention, any of that fun stuff?
It's just uh, my people. I appreciate my people. I was like, there's my sponsors. There's my coaches, my teammates, my partners. Just everybody in general is it's. I could never do this by myself. So I appreciate everybody who's been on this ride with me, and everyone who's coming to join me along this ride of mine. So just thank you to everybody in general.
Yeah. And that's the Muscle Hamster, one of the best nicknames in MMA, Josiah Harrell. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back next week with another episode.